Um, so yeah, just wanted to start with thanking everybody for having a great 2021. It was a pretty surreal year for us, for the ecosystem. There were a lot of different things that happened, starting with at the beginning of the year, we launched our Infura transactions feature, which was really great to finally see. The three people primarily leading that for us, Patrick, Lucian, and Chris, did an excellent job getting that out in front of developers. If you missed one of our previous calls going over ITX, it's a transaction relayer that makes it a lot easier and simpler for people to onboard into the Ethereum ecosystem, both as developers and users. It simplifies and abstracts the gas experience. So that was a great way to start the year strong for us. And then very soon after that, we started adding the first networks to Infura that we had ever added, besides the traditional Ethereum networks and Ethereum testnets. So you saw us add Polygon. We have Ankit on the call. We have a great relationship with the Polygon team. We saw it was maybe not around this time last year, but a couple months after, I'd say around end of January, we were seeing that transaction fees were getting extremely painful for users of the Ethereum network. And we wanted to know like what we could do as an infrastructure provider to help with that, which is why we released the ITX feature. But on the other side of it, it was looking at what things could we do to offload traffic onto some other networks that would make it simpler for applications that needed scale immediately to be able to handle the load that was being put upon them. And Polygon was ready and was there waiting. And we saw the latent demand for it, because as soon as we released the Polygon network feature in the spring, hundreds and thousands of developers signed up and just immediately started using the Polygon endpoints that we enabled. That was really interesting to see. It was an interesting scaling challenge for us, because traditionally, whenever we had stood up a new service or feature, it would be a slow kind of ramp up period where we could take a look at how our infrastructure was handling things, and we could adjust accordingly and optimize. And with Polygon, that was definitely not the case. The moment that I would say we opened the floodgates, developers started pouring in saying, we've been wanting this for a long time, started utilizing the Polygon endpoints and coming to us with additional features of other things that they wanted us to be able to support on Polygon. So that was really great to see. Then after that, of course, it was like the summer of layer 2s this year. And just like it was DeFi summer in 2020, this, I think, was layer 2 summer. We quickly added the Optimism and the Arbitrum networks. And similarly to when we added Polygon, there was immediate demand for these things as soon as we added it. I think with DeFi and TVL providing opportunities for people on networks as soon as they're available, we no longer see that slow ramp up period for developer adoption. As soon as the network can help people realize some sort of benefit, whether that's lower transaction fees, improved transaction throughput, or some new functionality that makes their application better, people are going to start using it very quickly. And that's thanks to the EVM compatible kind of mindset that the ecosystem now has. People are no longer proposing like radical alternatives to the EVM. People have started to kind of coalesce around the EVM being the lingua franca for these blockchain networks. And so if your blockchain is EVM compatible, or this blockchain that you're looking at integrating with is EVM compatible, you're not going to see the difficulties in getting that developer mindshare that new projects typically did. And so that was one of the other things that we worked on this year, is a lot of behind the scenes things, things to improve the performance and optimizations and make it a lot easier to add these networks in the future, because we don't think these are going to be the only EVM compatible networks that we're going to support and the ones that developers are going to want. So we've been preparing our infrastructure to be able to scale with the requests and demands of our user base. Next slide, please, Shay. That kind of is a good way to start leading into what's coming in 2022. Next slide, please. So more new networks are coming, starting with Aurora. If you're not familiar with Aurora, it's a layer 2 built on top of the Near protocol. Near is an excellent layer 1. They have a fantastic technical and engineering team over there. Aurora is an EVM compatible layer that was built on top of the Near blockchain. So you can basically interact with the Aurora gateway, which is something that we're going to be supporting in Q1, but something that's already available now that's run by the Aurora group itself. You can send a transaction, like an Ethereum transaction, to this Aurora endpoint, and that Aurora endpoint basically wraps the transaction in a Near transaction and propagates it to the Near blockchain, where it ultimately executes and is stored. So this means that you get the benefits of the Near network with compatibility with the EVM tooling that you're familiar with. So MetaMask supports it, Infura supports it. All of the tools that Diligence has provided to, like open source tooling to be able to test your smart contracts and things. Many of those things will still be compatible if you're going to be looking at Aurora. And that's just one of them. We'll have more announcements in the new year, but that's the one that we can talk about for right now. Besides that, more enhanced dashboard functionality. I know we went over our improved stats on one of the previous calls. That's going to be a big focus for us in 2022. Developers want to understand more about how their applications are being interacted with, how they can optimize their applications, what sort of patterns they're seeing that can help them improve their application. And they're asking us for specific features. So they want to see, more insights into transaction visibility, errors, logs coming back from errors that might be coming from the server side. And we're going to be exposing as much of that as possible. If you have any additional feature requests, our community forum is very active. Our team is in there every day looking at things that our users are asking for or asking about. And so if there's something that you're like, oh, this would really help me if I had this functionality inside of our dashboard, please put it in there and let us know. Additionally, we're going to be seriously improving our documentation and education resources. We were at a point where we felt like, this is material that we've covered before. Infura has been around since 2016. There are certain things that we started to kind of take for granted, like by now developers understand how this API method works, or how this the best pattern to use when you're trying to build an application that does X or Y. And what we saw was that not only has that evolved over time as the underlying tooling, whether it's the Ethereum node APIs themselves have improved, or developers have found different ways of utilizing things. A good example is the Flashbots project, and how Flashbots offers an API that makes it safer, might be a good word, safer for people to send transactions to the chain without getting front run. That's not something that really existed a year and a half ago. So that's kind of changed our perspective of, okay, maybe we should revisit all of our education material and our documentation, make sure it's as relevant and valuable to new users entering the ecosystem as possible. So we want Infura and the Infura landing page to be a place that developers can go to and quickly find the answers to the questions that are paining them. What's slowing you down? What's making it difficult for you to just develop and ship whatever it is that you're working on? we want to be a resource for you to answer those questions. Then the big thing that's going to be taking up a lot of our team's energy over the next 6 months, hopefully about 6 months, is the ETH1 and ETH2 merge. That's not a small feat. Definitely on the protocol engineering side, the foundation and research teams, the client development teams have been working on this for years. It's something that's been evolving and iterating on. They just launched the Kitsugi testnet a few days ago. That's a big deal. It's supposed to be a long-lived merge testnet where they're finally testing the merging of these Ethereum 1 and Ethereum 2 clients and how they're interoperating. The next few weeks of that testnet operating will really show the maturity and readiness for the merge. And maybe there's going to be no issues, which is great. And even if there are issues that are found, that's great, because this is where we as the community want to find these issues is on the testnet and not after we actually do the merge. So people that we're working with, we're working very closely with the Ethereum Foundation, the Teku and Besu client development teams within Consensys. We're all trying to work towards making sure that we find any issues, both on usability, like how will this work for people trying to run their own infrastructure, and just stability for the network overall. And then especially for us as Infura, being an infrastructure provider and operator, how will our infrastructure run leading up to this merge with Ethereum 2 and afterward? Like, what are we going to need to change and let you as our developers and our user base know if there's anything that needs to be required for you leading up to that? And so please subscribe to our community newsletter. We're pretty good at putting in things there that you should care about. We try not to just make it a bunch of things focused on like traditional marketing type things. We really want it to be actionable items that we feel like developers should be aware of and should care about. And so as we lead up to this Ethereum 2 merge, we're going to be putting in more things in there that'll hopefully be useful to you. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is that we recently open sourced some additional tooling for our IPFS product. There's a IPFS upload tool that makes it easy for people, whether it's switching your IPFS provider or migrating a lot of your traditional content onto Infura's IPFS service for the first time. It makes it a lot easier for you to do that en masse. We've released some other things in the past to also make it easier to switch from another IPFS node that you might have been running to our service. This is something that kind of extends that. And then we're going to be continuing to release open source tooling that helps people that are choosing to run their own infrastructure, whether it's monitoring your own Ethereum or EVM blockchain nodes, running that stuff yourselves. And maybe in the future, well, not maybe, definitely in the future, we're going to be open sourcing some of the pieces that we use internally to run Infura, because we're seeing that blockchains are getting harder and harder to run. They grow indefinitely. No matter how small, we try to optimize the state of the Ethereum blockchain or other blockchains. Blockchains are getting faster, and that data gets stored somewhere. There's no magic to make that disappear. You can use some fancy cryptography and math and computer science to minimize that as much as possible. But transactions always generate some amount of data, and that data is going to continue to grow indefinitely. And so we're always looking at how we can optimize the way that we run our infrastructure. And we're at a point now where we think we're ready to share a lot of this with others. So keep an eye out for that in the new year. So that's where I'll end for now. Shay, do we want to do questions for me right now, or are we going to do it all at the end?
Yeah, let's have some questions. I think we have a couple in here. We do have one from Sankara. Is it Infura API support ETH and Matic chains only? They said. Does that make sense? Is it Infura API support ETH and Matic? I guess they're saying, does Infura API support ETH?
So we do
and
support the Ethereum chain. We support the Matic Polygon chain. And besides those, we support the Palm network. We support Arbitrum and Optimism as well. If you're familiar with those layer 2 scaling networks, so the optimistic rollups. And then Aurora, which I mentioned, will be coming in Q1.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Also, one more, and then we can come back to at the end, also, EG, to answer any other questions that come through. From Gustavo, is Solana EVM compatible?
I'm not aware of Solana being EVM compatible right now. I think I saw that somebody is working on an EVM compatibility layer for Solana.
Okay. What about Filecoin? Is anything about that?
Yes. So I typically don't mention Filecoin since it's a unique, more storage-based network rather than like generalized smart contract. But we also do have support for Filecoin. I believe we launched that at the end of 2021. Sorry, end of 2020, and that's been great to see. The adoption there has been, I think, a little bit slower because if you're utilizing the Filecoin network, it's more for long-term storage rather than for like immediate data retrieval. But it's something that we've always felt like with our relationship with IPFS and our great partnership with Protocol Labs, that it's something that will evolve and we will eventually transition to being able to utilize Filecoin for more immediate storage and retrieval. Right now, we utilize IPFS and we promote IPFS as the way that people can, for example, store and retrieve their NFTs, and that hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to also utilize the Filecoin network in a much more distributed or decentralized way.
Great. Thank you, EG. One more question here. This is coming in from Jordan. Do you support Velas? I don't know if I'm saying it right. It's Solana's fork with EVM.
Yes. So that's the one that I think I had heard of. We haven't had any discussions internally about when we would support that. That's kind of the thing that I was saying. If developers are asking for it, we'll do it. There's nothing that we're like philosophically opposed to. That's not part of our ethos. That's never the way that we've been. The thing that really pushed us over the edge and said like, okay, we have to do this is just the sheer amount of developers that were asking for Polygon. It was pretty overwhelming. Like there wasn't a day that was going by where we weren't seeing people asking for it. And so we'll put Jordan on the list as one of the people asking for Solana support. And if more people are asking for it, our product folks are going to listen.
And yeah, and that would be to my question, EG, is there a place that people can go, our community, to request, like feature requests or things like that? What's the best place for them to do that?
Yep. If you go to our Infura.io website, there's a community link there, or just go to community.infura.io. It's our Discuss forum. You can ask questions. You can put in feature requests. I'm in there. I take a look at the questions that people are asking, and you can even pose a question to our product folks, and they'd be happy to brainstorm anything with you.
Awesome. Thank you. And last one, and we're going to jump to Ankit, is they're wondering, this has come from Musab, is saying like, do you know time frame wise when Infura would be including BSC, Solana, and other blockchain for developers? Is it, to your point, based on demand, or do you have a time frame on that?
So demand determines when we add it in our pipeline of things that we can add. We're just like other people in this space struggling to scale the team, because once we add a network, it's a huge operational commitment. We're not the type to say we're going to add something and then we're going to remove it 3 months from now, because if you're building your application on top of Infura, you want to know that it's going to be there for years, and it's not something that will just get sunset in 6 months. We never wanted to be an API provider that did that. And so we need to make sure that the engineering team and the operations and support teams behind that can support the additional network. When we add a network, it's different than traditional like software infrastructure, because you're not just running the software, you now become part of the community. Like we're very much a part of the Polygon community, the other layer 2 communities. We track the governance decisions that are happening. Different forks and network upgrades affect us significantly. And it's something that we won't do it lightly. We take a look at it from like a technical perspective, like how intense will this be for us to be able to support this network? What are the operational requirements? And then are we prepared to do that and commit to that? But so no specific timelines on those, but definitely Aurora is not the only network we'll be adding in 2022.